Analucia McGorty, the costume designer for Pose in New York of the late 80s and early 90s. This is the story of ball culture, the gay and trans community, the raging AIDS crisis, and capitalism. Analucia, coming into this is the final season of Pose. Can you talk about, where you wanted to evolve the costumes and kind of like what the overarching goals for the final season were for you?
Yeah, I mean, as I was going to say, it was a little bittersweet because this series is truly the dream for me as a costume designer because it's period, it's New York, it's fashion, but it's also complete fantasy in just the right moments. So I wanted the whole season to feel like a big love note to our writers, to our cast, to our crew, to all of the fans. So I think I just tried to figure out what is something we've never done on Pose, which is difficult because we've done so much. And also, like, how can we send this out with so much beauty and truth? So I think those were the overall goals.
Right. So what did you come up with for what you guys hadn't done for on the show? Because like you said, I think the costumes are so, obviously like iconic from the show and like a huge part of, what people will take away from it. And obviously it's just a really visually appealing show, I guess. Can you talk about like the costumes and like, what you hadn't done before that you were excited to try?
Well, I think, there's two big points that I think were sort of the really over the top moments. In episode 3, we did this fairy tale ball, which we had like 10 days to do this. And so each individual character was a fairy tale. So we have Electra as the evil queen, and we have Candy comes back because it's a flashback moment, and she's Sleeping Beauty, but we have a bed attached to her costume. There's lots of things like that that were really fun to do. But I think for me as a costume designer, the biggest moment was Angel's wedding dress, which is a dress that physically blooms flowers. So that was an engineering feat, and it was also just, I think, really encompasses a lot of what the show is, which is blooming into who you are inside. And the beauty of that and the journey from being a bud into blooming as a woman or as who you are as a person or as an adult. So that was definitely something that I had this fabulous idea, and then I was like, oh God, I have to make it.
So like, yeah, like that is an incredible idea. And I think you're right, like about based on like the themes of the show and stuff, it's perfect. I guess, how do you come up with like, well, the dress can bloom flowers and like like actually building that and executing that, I think is just, it's an incredible feat. So I guess, can you talk a little about how you ended up doing it?
Yeah, I think I probably have a lot of confidence in our ability to like make things happen because I have such a strong relationship with my tailors, and I really just trust them so much, and I would never even suggest an idea without talking about it with them, and they have never failed me and they've never said no. And another part of that making the wedding dress was that we started doing that after the pandemic happened, and a big purpose of everything I did after we came back was to make sure we did 85% small business. So we reached out to some really great New York small businesses to involve them in the process. And one of them was this fantastic company called Monkey Boy Productions. And they are puppeteers, but they do a lot of other different mechanical pieces for like Saturday Night Live and the Muppets and stuff like that. And so we talked it through with them, and we were able to come up with like a functional movement that the actor could wear that wouldn't weigh 3,000 pounds and also work as we needed it to. It had like a remote, and we could control the speed and the timing of it all. And then we also worked with a fantastic M&S, which is a floral company, fabric floral manufacturer in New York. They've been around for 100 years, and they were struggling. And it's a family-run company, and we really wanted to give them as much business as we could. So they handmade every single one of the flowers for us.
Wow. Can you talk a little about like that? I was wondering that like too, like how, like you said, it's a period piece and stuff. How much of the costumes and wardrobe is stuff that you're actually hand making, and how much of it is stuff that you're able to find like and source through like thrift shops or whatever? I mean, do you like how
Mhm.
much is, yeah, like what is the balance there, and like how do you go about that kind of research, I guess.
Well, I'm sure many of my other costume designer friends here know that TV moves like the speed of light. So as much as we would all love to make every single piece, and that would be the dream, it just doesn't work out that way. So I would say we probably make about 35% of what we do. And sometimes that means like having one piece and building something else onto it. But a lot of the ballroom pieces, like those really big show pieces, we custom make those.
Mhm.
But again, we worked really hard with our vintage vendors and made sure we kept it with small business and, just tried to, and it's hard to not do Amazon, but we really worked hard to make sure that happened.
No, that's great. Yeah, you mentioned Angel's wedding dress. And getting to do a big lavish wedding like that in this season,
Yeah.
like the detail of all the other dresses and the guest dresses and the costumes. I guess can you talk? It's a beautiful sequence, and I guess just can you talk a little about that and like
Sure.
outfitting everybody, because it felt like, and again I'm imagining, like you said, like doing it probably after the pandemic or during the
Mhm.
pandemic, doing, yeah, getting that group of getting everybody together and getting that together just seemed like a large task. So I'd love to hear you talk about that a little.
Sure. I mean, it's a beautiful script. Like it's incredibly well written, and Janet Mock, who's our one of our writers and directors who directed this episode, really wanted all of the ballroom women who've been involved with Pose, who are the guests of the wedding, to have their wedding moment as well. So all of the women are in wedding dresses. So that's a lot of wedding dresses to fit and tailor and have ready, and they're each given their own moment of walking down the aisle. And it was important for me too to give them that moment. Each one of their fittings was as if they were a principal number one on the call sheet. We talked to them about what their dream of a wedding dress was. We wanted them to feel beautiful and fantastic. And then I sort of turned their vision and made it a little more 90s. Um, yeah, I just, again, it's about having the team of people that I had in my wardrobe department, and I'm immensely grateful to each one of them for their talents and their skill set. So it was just having patience, making sure we had the right amount of staff, not, getting too outside of what we were able to do, which is hard sometimes with Pose because you can really push everything over the top in the most
Mhm.
fantastic way. So it's time management. And we worked again really hard with our hair and makeup department heads to make sure each look was cohesive. I work really closely with our production designer. They have every swatch of fabric that we put on everybody. We, with the floral designs, making sure that the flowers of Angel's dress also work well with the floral design. We made Poppy and his son each a custom vest that match each other, but the flowers on the vest are the same as Angel's wedding dress. And the three bridesmaids, or the mother of the bride, Blanca, Electra, and Lulu, all of the colors of their bridesmaids dresses are the exact pinks that are in Angel's wedding dress. So it all had to work together, because I have to say this, Hitchcock always said that all that matters is the rectangle of the screen. And I always think about that. And so it all has to work together. It has to make sure your eye wanders through the entire rectangle so it feels cohesive. And we worked really hard. I think it looks great. I hate to say it, but I really do.
No, you're absolutely right. It definitely does, and I think you're right. Like it does feel everything like kind of connects in a way that's not taking the audience out of it, right? You're able to like take the whole thing in instead of like being like it's not. It doesn't take you out of it, and it's really impressive. And so we kind of been talking about this. I mean, this is the last season, like you said. Like I think, what do you hope the legacy of the show is, and especially the costumes and like the getting to work on this, like like, taking like a broader view of it now as the show is ending for you.
Well, I think the overall message of Pose goes a little bit deeper than the costumes. I hope that what it does is open people's hearts and their minds to different communities of people. I think that this fantastic opportunity to design the costumes for the show was really the candy coating on what the real message was. So if we were able to draw people in with these fabulous looks and over the top moments, then they would stay for the message. And that's really, in all honesty, what I hope people walk away with. I also like hope that, you know, there's different moments on TV that people and showrunners like trust us as costume designers to kind of push the limit and go over the top. Ryan Murphy and Lou Eyrich always trusted me with these insane, wild ideas that I would send to sketches, and they were like, "Okay, let's do it," and it worked out. You know, so I'm hoping that that sort of makes people see you don't have to just stay safe in a moment if you have the opportunity to go, you know, push yourself and live outside the box a little bit.
That's great. Analucia McGorty, costume designer for Pose. Thank you so much. Stick around. We'll do the roundtable here at the end. That was great. Thank you so much.